Chapter 1544. Lu Ming, this sacred weapon is your spoils of war. Keep it. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said. Thank you, Elder. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony and kept the small pagoda sacred weapon. Of course, he also kept Emohi's storage ring. These were his spoils of war, and he did not stand on ceremony. Humph. The Elder of Sky Universe Demon Sect glanced at Lu Ming coldly before he turned around and returned to his pavilion. The other sect elders also returned to their pavilions. Lu Ming, you've done well. You've made a great contribution this time. The sect will reward you accordingly. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley said with a smile. This made you, Blizzard Silver City, and the others in the spectator stands jealous. Lu Ming smiled and returned to Platform 10. He sat down cross-legged and waved his hand. A large pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming devoured the origin stones and started to recover. Lu Ming had used up a lot of energy in the previous battle. He did not have much true origin left. Everyone on the spectator stands looked at Lu Ming with fear. In this small gathering, 3 top geniuses had died at the hands of Lu Ming. If Emohi had not used a sacred weapon, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Therefore, he had been killed by Lu Ming. 3 top geniuses from Heavenly God Sect, Sky Universe Demon Sect, and Poison Desire Sect. This was a great loss. In the past treasure peddling gatherings, such a situation rarely happened. Moreover, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the peak of LV4 Martial Royal Realm. It was a miracle that he had achieved such a result. In the treasure peddling gatherings, top geniuses who had reached LV6 Martial Royal Realm were extremely difficult to kill. However, this time, Lu Ming had killed 3 of them. Back then, the Divine Sun's cultivation was at the peak of LV6 Martial Royal Realm, and he had only killed 2 geniuses of this level in the treasure peddling gatherings. Now, the Divine Sun was the top of the top 10 geniuses. Lu Ming had already broken the record of the Son of God. The 13 sects and forces all had different thoughts in their minds. The challenges continued. After Lu Ming's challenge, it was the turn of the Demon Castle on Platform 13 to challenge. This was because the Piyuan family on Platform 11 and the Blood Demon House on Platform 12 had already been eliminated. After the Demon Castle challenge ended, this round also came to an end. Next, it was the Heavenly Divinity Sect's turn again. The Heavenly God Sect's people glanced at Lu Ming with deep fear. They then sent out one person to challenge the other sections. Next, it was the Sky Universe Devil Sect's turn. Although they wanted to avenge Mo, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming, so they could only challenge the other sections. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the platform, but no one dared to challenge him. Soon, it was the Desire Poison Sect's turn. The Desire Poison Sect still had a top genius who had defeated Tian Shui previously. However, when he looked at Lu Ming, his eyes were filled with deep fear. How would he dare to challenge Lu Ming? He sent out another person to challenge the other sections. When it was the Dragon God Valley's turn again, no one dared to challenge Lu Ming. When it was Lu Ming's turn again, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. They didn't know who Lu Ming was going to challenge this time. Everyone's hearts were beating fast, especially the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect. Whoever was challenged by Lu Ming would be courting death. Lu Ming stepped onto the platform. After the cultivation just now, his true yuan had completely recovered. The devouring power allowed him to recover his true yuan by devouring origin stones at an astonishing speed. No one could compare to him. Lu Ming's gaze fell on the Desire Poison Sect side. He wanted to challenge the only top expert left from the Desire Poison Sect. Just now, this person had challenged Tian Shui. He wouldn't let him off so easily. The Desire Poison Sect's expert stepped onto the platform with an ugly expression. However, the moment he stepped onto the platform, he immediately rushed to the back. He wanted to rush off the platform. Many people were speechless. This person had a superior earth spiritual body. He was as famous as Emohi and Wu Qiandu. However, he didn't even dare to fight and wanted to rush off the platform. It was clear that this person was afraid of Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming charged towards this person. However, this person's spiritual body was a poisoned spiritual body. His vitality was extremely tenacious. Moreover, He wanted to escape and didn't want to fight. On this small platform, it was difficult for Lu Ming to kill him. In the end, his opponent successfully rushed off the platform at the cost of a certain amount of injuries. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. It was a pity. In this way, the Heavenly Divinity Sect, the Sky Universe Devil Sect, and the Desire Poison Sect, a total of 7 top experts, were all defeated. The competition ended prematurely. There wasn't much suspense in the rest of the competition. With Lu Ming holding the fort alone, no one dared to fight him. Every time it was Lu Ming's turn, he would choose a genius from the Heavenly Divinity Sect to kill. This made the geniuses on the Heavenly Divinity Sect's platform extremely afraid. In the end, in order to survive, they purposely didn't fight and rushed off the platform. They even challenged the Sky Universe Devil Sect and the Desire Poison Sect in order to preserve more lives. The 3 sects were forced to such a state by Lu Ming alone. This was rare. After this battle, Lu Ming's name was destined to spread throughout the Tsang continent. The challenges continued. Because the Heavenly Divinity Sect's method was equivalent to admitting defeat, they were the first to be defeated. This move of the Heavenly Divinity Sect is really beautiful. Where did they learn it? Someone from the Dragon God Valley mocked. The Heavenly Divinity Sect's disciples on the spectators' stand all flushed red, but no one retorted. They didn't have the face to refute. Before the treasure pedestal meeting, the Heavenly Divinity Sect had announced that they would be the champion 3 times in a row. But now, it had become a joke. If they hadn't used the correct strategy to eliminate the 3 weakest sects in advance, they might not even be able to enter the top 10. After the Heavenly Divinity Sect was eliminated, Lu Ming targeted the Desire Poison Sect. Lu Ming considered that Xian Yinqing was the saintess of the Sky Universe Devil Sect, so after killing Mo He didn't continue to challenge the other disciples of the Sky Universe Devil Sect. This made the disciples of the Sky Universe Devil Sect heave a long sigh of relief. The Desire Poison Sect was in a miserable state. They were all frightened, and in the end, they adopted the Heavenly Divinity Sect's method and became the second sect to be eliminated. As the competition continued, the number of people left from each sect decreased. Even the Life and Death Sword Sect only had a few people left. In this battle, the Life and Death Sword Sect was the same as before. Although they had fewer people, they were all elites with terrifying combat strength. Luo Xiang also rose in this battle. With his cultivation of the LV5 Martial Royal Realm, he had killed many LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses. Gradually, one sect after another was eliminated. However, there was still one person sitting cross-legged on the 10th platform. Lu Ming. Lu Ming was the only one left in the Dragon God Valley. However, Lu Ming was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. In the end, will Lu Ming be the last to leave the Dragon God Valley in first place? Someone muttered. Many people looked at each other in dismay. If that was the case, it would be a legend that would be passed down for hundreds of years. Whoosh! A sword light flashed and Luo Xiang stepped onto the fighting stage. Lu Ming, how about we spar? Chapter 1545. Was Luo Xiang going to challenge Lu Ming? Many people were surprised and looked forward to the battle. Lu Ming was undoubtedly the biggest dark horse this time. He was only a LV4 Martial Royal Realm cultivator, but he had killed a few top earthly spiritual bodies and forced the Heavenly God Sect, Poison Sect, and the other sects to challenge other sects and lose on purpose. Luo Xiang was not weak either. Those who knew Luo Xiang knew that he was a terrifying person. He had stopped at the peak Martial Saint realm for 15 years to nurture his sword soul. Now, he was able to kill LV6 Martial Royal Realm geniuses as a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator. His strength was unfathomable. Moreover, the Life and Death sword art was terrifying. What would happen if Luo Xiang challenged Lu Ming? Lu Ming stood up and stepped out of the fighting ring, facing Luo Xiang. Lu Ming, how about we settle this in one move? Luo Xiang said. Sure. Lu Ming said. To be honest, he had a good impression of Luo Xiang. Luo Xiang was a true sword cultivator. He was sharp, decisive, and righteous. He had his own bottom line. Previously, when the Heavenly God Sect, Heavenly Universe Demon Sect, and Poison Sect were hunting the Dragon God Valley, Luo Xiang could not stand it anymore and killed the Heavenly God Sect's experts. He was a man who lived for the sword. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. My life and death swordsmanship can determine life and death with one move. It has the meaning of I live and you die. If you can block my move, you win. Luo Xiang warned. Give it your all. If I die under your sword, I can only blame myself for not being good enough. Lu Ming said. There was a strong desire to fight in his eyes. He wanted to see the life and death sword art that was famous in the Tsang continent. Clang. Unsheathing his battle sword, Luo Xiang's body emitted a terrifying aura that soared into the sky. At that moment, Luo Xiang seemed to have turned into a peerless sword. He was no longer a human, but a sword. However, the sword in his hand was not a sword, but a person. At that moment, Luo Xiang's sword seemed to have come alive with a soul. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He felt a strong pressure from Luo Xiang. It was rare to see a LV5 Martial Royal Realm cultivator giving him such a strong pressure. Lu Ming's true essence began to circulate rapidly. The Emperor's spiritual weapon Long Spear appeared in his hand, and the chaotic domain spread out. At the same time, Lu Ming's muscles and bones were wriggling slightly, ready to launch a terrifying attack at any time. Whoosh! At that moment, Luo Xiang made his move. A sword gleam cut through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. Under this sword light, the void seemed to have been pierced through. Everything in the world seemed to have lost its color. It was as if this sword light was the only thing left in the world. Terrifying, sharp, and accurate. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if there was a terrifying sword aura pressing down on his body, making it difficult for him to move. In the face of this sword, it was as if he could only be killed. Roar. At this moment, there was an earth-shattering dragon roar from Lu Ming's body. The dragon roar was vast and mighty, as though a real dragon had ascended to the 9 heavens. Lu Ming's true yuan surged as he broke through the Luo Xiang sword art. He merged with his spear and thrust forward. He had used the 13th strike of the accumulating force. The spear was covered in the chaotic domain. The sword art and the spear seemed to be the only things in the world at that moment. Clang! The spear and the sword art collided with each other like two meteors in the sky. A blinding light was emitted from the point of impact. It was like the sun had suddenly exploded, causing the heavens and earth to be filled with white light. Many people felt a piercing pain in their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations could not help but close their eyes. How terrifying! Who won? Those with stronger cultivations opened their eyes wide and stared at the scene before them with their true yuan. The blinding light disappeared in a flash. When it disappeared, the crowd could see a figure flying backward and landing on the fighting ring. The figure took a few steps back before coming to a stop. Luo Xiang. The one who retreated was Luo Xiang. At that moment, Luo Xiang's face was extremely pale. His hand that was holding the sword was trembling slightly. Lu Ming stood motionless. Dragon scales appeared on his body. What a terrifying sword! Lu Ming let out a long breath. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. In the moment of collision, Lu Ming's chaotic domain that covered his spear had been pierced through by Luo Xiang's sword qi. The terrifying sword qi followed the spear and broke into his body. Dragon scales appeared on his body to block the sword qi. Even so, there was still a tearing pain on the surface of his skin. From this, one could see how terrifying Luo Xiang's sword was. The life and death sword art. One sword could decide life and death. Every sword was a sword that could kill. Luo Xiang was much stronger than when he was in the Tsang Emperor's secret realm. This strength did not refer to the increase in cultivation, but the ability to fight against those of the same level. At that time, Lu Ming's spiritual body was only a low-grade earth spiritual body, but he could still defeat Luo Xiang. At that time, Luo Xiang was on the same level as Wang Jian and Shi Tian. But now, Luo Xiang could easily kill Wang Jian and Shi Tian of the same level. Spiritual body is still a mid-grade earth spiritual body, but it can release such a sword. Unbelievable! Lu Ming thought. I lost. Luo Xiang put away his sword and clasped his fists towards Lu Ming. That sword could be said to be Luo Xiang's strongest sword. If he couldn't defeat Lu Ming with that sword, he would lose. After saying that, Luo Xiang turned around and jumped off the stage. Lu Ming did not chase after him. He and Luo Xiang were originally exchanging pointers. After Luo Xiang jumped off the stage, Lu Ming turned around and returned to the platform. The challenges continued. The following battles calmed down, but there were undercurrents surging. Because more than 30 rounds had passed, there were very few people left on each platform. It was about to end. The remaining people were all experts. After a few more rounds, there were less than 10 people left on the 13 platforms. However, the remaining people were all top experts. Most of them were at the level of Bai Mo, Han Sun, and Mo. At this time, the people from the Heavenly God sect and Sky Demon sect had all been eliminated. A new round had begun. It was the Heavenly King Palace's turn to challenge. The Heavenly King Palace was very strong, not weaker than the Sky Demon sect and Poison sect. Now, there were only 2 people left. Both of them were top experts. There was only one person left from the Demonic Moon sect. The leader of the Demonic Moon sect was also a top expert. There was only one person left from the 9 Heaven Sword sect, also a top expert. There was only one person left from the Linglong Palace, also a top expert. There was also one person from the Life and Death Sword faction in the Good Demon Castle. Including Lu Ming, there were a total of 8 people. There were only 8 people left. On the surface, the Heavenly King Palace was the strongest with 2 people left. However, at this time, all the platforms were silent. The 2 top experts from the Heavenly King Palace glanced at the other people, but the one who they looked at the most was Lu Ming. The powerful figures from the other sects also cast their gazes on Lu Ming. Their gazes were solemn. Chapter 1546. According to the rules, the last person standing would get 7 Imperial Jade Pills as a reward. Who wouldn't want that? But if they wanted to get the Imperial Region Pills, they would have to defeat the others. Among the 8 people present, Lu Ming was undoubtedly a mountain that everyone who wanted to get first place had to overcome. Previously, Lu Ming had already displayed his terrifying combat strength and was able to kill top experts. The other 7 people were all wary of him. No one was confident that they would be able to defeat Lu Ming alone. There was a high chance that they would be defeated. Therefore, they were extremely cautious in challenging him now. Heavenly King Palace, it's your turn. Hurry up and challenge him. The remaining Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. What's the hurry? One of the Sky Prides from the Heavenly King Palace said coldly. Everyone, all of you want to get first place, right? A youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Isn't that obvious? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle said. Of course. Who doesn't want to get first place? That's 7 Imperial Region Pills. Not only that, but you can also become famous in the Tsang state. The leader of the 9 Heaven Sword sect said. The others nodded. That's right. We all want to get first place. But I'll be honest. With Lu Ming here, none of us can get first place. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. The others were silent. It was obvious that they agreed. Then what do you want to do? The Sky Prides from the Demon Castle asked. Let's team up and take turns to defeat Lu Ming. Then, we'll fight it out. The youth in purple gold armor from the Heavenly King Palace said. Lu Ming glanced at the 2 from the Heavenly King Palace. He wasn't too surprised. With the combat strength that he had displayed previously, he had already expected that the other sects would take turns to fight him. Just like what the youth in purple gold armor had said, if they didn't defeat him, the others wouldn't be able to get first place. However, would it be that easy to defeat him? Lu Ming's lips curled into an inexplicable smile. I don't agree. There are 2 people from the Heavenly King Palace. Taking turns to fight him is beneficial to you. The Sky Prides from the Demonic Moon sect on the 4th platform sneered. Xiesha, this is the only way. If you don't do this, I'll challenge you now. Are you confident that you can defeat me? Even if you win, how much combat strength do you have? Even if I don't challenge you now, you will challenge someone else later. Who do you think you can challenge? The Heavenly King's Palace's purple golden armored youth asked a few questions, causing the others to fall silent again. That was indeed the case. After that, every battle would be a battle of the peak. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't be injured after defeating their opponent. That would only benefit the people behind them. In the end, no one was a match for Lu Ming. They had no other choice. I agree. The Demon Castle's genius was the first to agree. His geographical position was the best, so he could take turns fighting Lu Ming. After all, it would be his turn last. After so many rounds, Lu Ming would most likely be defeated. He would be at the back and could conserve his strength. I agree too. The Linglong Palace's outstanding talent also spoke. The Linglong Palace's position was also relatively towards the back. In the end, the Nine Heaven Sword sect nodded in agreement. In the end, only Xie Sha from the Demonic Moon sect was left, and his expression was ugly. His position was only behind the Sky King Hall. After the Sky King Hall's challenge, it would be his turn. I will be the first to challenge. The purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Palace said. All right, I agree. In the end, Xie Sha also nodded in agreement. At this point, he had no other choice. Luckily, the purple golden armored youth was the first to challenge Lu Ming. At least he could exhaust some of Lu Ming's battle strength. When the time came, he might have a chance. After Xie Sha agreed, the purple golden armored youth from the Sky King Hall stepped onto the battle stage. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, how about you fight with me? As you wish. Lu Ming stepped out and landed on the battle stage. The purple golden armored youth's eyes were solemn as he said, Lu Ming, how about we fight? Let's spar without killing each other. What do you think? Sure, Lu Ming said. He had already offended the Heavenly God sect, Sky Universe Demon sect, and Poison Desire sect. He didn't want to offend any more sections. Seeing that Lu Ming had agreed, the purple golden armored youth heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, it was a lie to say that he wasn't afraid of Lu Ming. After all, he was the one who had suggested taking turns to fight Lu Ming. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill him in a fit of anger. He wasn't confident that he could get out of the battle stage successfully. Be careful. The purple golden armored youth's body emitted a purple gold light. Even his skin had turned purple gold, making him look like a heavenly king. Boom. The purple golden armored youth stepped onto the battle stage. His body was like a giant beast as he charged towards Lu Ming. He threw out a punch, causing the void to tremble. The purple golden armored youth's fist smashed towards Lu Ming. Without a doubt, he was a genius on the same level as Han Sun and Mo Hao. If it was a normal battle, even Lu Ming would have to put in a lot of effort. However, Lu Ming didn't plan to fight a normal battle with the youth. Lu Ming's hands moved at a rapid speed, like a phantom. A huge chaotic cyclic sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The chaotic cyclic sky seal wasn't at full strength. Like the previous battle with Mo Hao, it was only at 50% of its power. 50% of its power was enough. Lu Ming threw the chaotic cyclic sky seal at the purple golden armored youth. The purple golden armored youth's face changed drastically. He had seen the terrifying power of this move when Lu Ming had fought with Mo Hao. Heavenly King Pagoda. The purple golden armored youth roared. His purple gold body swelled, and he grew taller. The purple golden armored youth's body shone brightly as he threw out both palms at the chaotic cyclic sky seal. Boom. The purple golden armored youth's palms hit the chaotic cyclic sky seal. His burly body shook violently as the purple golden armored youth's body flickered and exploded. Bam! The purple golden armored youth couldn't even stand properly. His bones creaked as he knelt down and spat out a mouthful of blood. Boom! At this time, Lu Ming started to form the chaotic cyclic sky seal again. Wait a minute, I don't want to fight anymore. The purple golden armored youth shouted. Then, he rushed to the side of the fighting ring and flew to the spectators' stand behind the Heavenly King's hall to heal his injuries. Lu Ming didn't chase after him. This could save his true essence. The chaotic cyclic sky seal that was halfway formed dissipated. The others looked at each other in dismay. The purple golden armored youth was defeated by Lu Ming in one move and rushed off the fighting ring. Was the gap in their combat strength so big? The gap is not that big. Lu Ming's move should be his most powerful unique move. Its power is shocking. However, such a unique move consumes a lot of vital essence. It is also very terrifying. That's right. I believe Lu Ming can only use a few moves with such a move. Chapter 1547. Lu Ming returned to the 10th platform. Next, it was Xie Sha's turn. Xie Sha's face turned ugly. The purple golden armored youth had only blocked one of Lu Ming's attacks before he was defeated. God knows how much true essence Lu Ming had used. If he were to challenge Lu Ming now, he was not confident at all. However, even if he went back on his promise and gave up on challenging Lu Ming, he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. If he didn't challenge Lu Ming, he would challenge others. However, none of the remaining challengers were weak. Even if he won, he would definitely be injured. Then, the next challenger would definitely challenge him, and he would definitely lose. Fight! Xie Sha gritted his teeth. He knew that he wouldn't be able to make it to the end. He might as well challenge Lu Ming and leave a good name for himself. With a movement of his body, Xie Sha landed on the fighting ring. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, how about we fight?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. He took a step forward and returned to the fighting ring. Buzz! Lu Ming didn't waste any time. He stepped onto the platform and formed a seal with his hands. A chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hands. Boom! Lu Ming threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at Xie Sha. Xie Sha's face changed drastically. Evil chi surged from his body. A blood-red moon appeared in his hands, and he threw it at the chaotic flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The blood-red moon and the chaotic flipping sky seal clashed. After a few breaths, the chaotic flipping sky seal collapsed. Xie Sha's body was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. He finally understood how terrifying Lu Ming's chaotic flipping sky seal was. What kind of attack is this? Why is it so terrifying? Xie Sha thought to himself. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards Xie Sha. "I've lost this battle," Xie Sha shouted and rushed down the fighting stage. Like the purple golden armored youth, he admitted defeat. These people had selfish motives. After receiving the first move, they understood that they were no match for Lu Ming. Otherwise, given their strength, they could receive the second move of the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, in that case, they would be seriously injured. Like the purple golden armored youth, they were going to lose anyway. Why fight so hard? If they were severely injured, it would affect their cultivation. It would be better to leave it to the next challengers. Therefore, Xie Sha was the same as the purple golden armored young man. After receiving one attack, he immediately admitted defeat. This time, Lu Ming did not return to the platform. His gaze landed on the 9 Heaven Sword Sect powerhouse. "Next, you should be challenging me, right? Come down." Swoosh! With a flash of sword light, the genius of the 9 Heaven Sword Sect stepped onto the battle stage. Just like before, let's spar and not fight to the death. The prodigy of the 9 Firmament Sword Sect said. "Sure," Lu Ming said, and a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand. Lu Ming didn't want to waste time and threw the chaotic flipping sky seal at the 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. The huge chaotic flipping sky seal was like a mountain, completely enveloping the opponent. In such a battle platform, it was difficult for the opponent to dodge. He could only take it head-on. A sword chime sounded and a bright sword light shot up to the sky, slashing at the chaotic flipping sky seal. In the next moment, the sword light shattered and the chaotic flipping sky seal slammed down, causing the 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple to vomit blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. He didn't want to lose like this, but he didn't know how many more moves Lu Ming could make. Fight! The 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple became one with his sword and turned into a bright sword light, slashing at Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was covered in the chaotic domain. Another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in his hand and attacked the 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple. Oh no! The 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple was shocked and quickly retreated. He wanted to dodge, but under the chaotic flipping sky seal, he couldn't. Break! The 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple slashed out hundreds of times. The bright sword light collided with the chaotic flipping sky seal, causing sparks to fly. The 9 Heavenly Sword Sect's disciple grunted as he was blasted off the battle platform by the chaotic flipping sky seal. His clothes were stained with blood and his face was as pale as a sheet. After taking 2 consecutive blows from the chaotic flipping sky seal, his injuries were more serious than the previous 2. How can Lu Ming's attack be so powerful? Indeed, it's too powerful. There's no way to fight it. The key is, how many times can he make such an attack? He's already made 4 attacks in a row. He should be reaching his limit soon. In the battle platform, Lu Ming looked at the Linglong Palace's disciple. The Linglong Palace's disciple was a beautiful woman. In fact, all the disciples of the Linglong Palace were women. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower. The Linglong Palace's disciple stepped forward with a beautiful smile on her face. She said softly, "Mr. Lu Ming, please have mercy on me." Her fragrance made one want to take pity on her, making one reluctant to make a move. However, Lu Ming condensed a chaotic flipping sky seal and threw it at the other party. The beautiful woman's face changed. She waved her hand and countless petals appeared. The petals formed a huge hand and pulled at the chaotic flipping sky seal. However, the result was the same. The huge hand collapsed and the beautiful woman slid 100 meters away on the battle platform. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "Mr. Lu Ming, you don't know how to be gentle with a woman." The beautiful lady wiped away the blood at the corner of her mouth and glared at Lu Ming, seemingly coquettish and angry. "Fairy, you have amazing combat strength. If I were to be gentle with you, I would be the one to lose." Lu Ming took a step forward. The chaotic aura in his palm was rich and it kept on rolling. The beautiful woman had amazing combat strength. She was the least injured after taking his chaotic flipping sky seal. "Young Master Lu Ming, I wonder how many moves you can unleash with such a powerful move?" The beautiful woman smiled. "Why don't you give it a try?" Lu Ming smiled. Another chaotic flipping sky seal formed in his hand. The beautiful woman looked solemn. Countless petals swirled around her. The endless petals were colorful, making the beautiful woman look like a goddess. Boom! Lu Ming attacked for the second time. The second chaotic flipping sky seal blasted out. This time, the petals around the beautiful woman formed a shield in front of her. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down and the shield exploded. The beautiful woman retreated to the edge of the battle platform. Her body trembled and she spat out a mouthful of blood. "Fairy, do you want to try again?" Lu Ming asked. The beautiful woman's expression changed. Finally, she sighed and turned to leave the battle platform. Lu Ming had defeated another person. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Lu Ming had already defeated 4 people consecutively. Every one of them was a top-notch prodigy, a top existence who participated in the small gathering this time. However, Lu Ming had defeated 4 people consecutively. In addition to the 3 people that Lu Ming had killed previously, this time, Lu Ming alone had defeated 7 top-notch geniuses like them. Chapter 1548. However, this was not the end. There were still 3 people left. Would Lu Ming continue to create miracles? Would they be able to witness the birth of a miracle? After the beautiful girl from Linglong Palace, it was the turn of the strongest genius from Life and Death Sword faction. He was a cold-looking young man in a black robe. Just by standing there casually, he seemed to be emitting wisps of sword chi. He took a step forward and landed in front of Lu Ming. Powerful sword chi whizzed out and filled the fighting ring. "Make your move," the genius from Life and Death Sword faction said indifferently. He was not like the others who had agreed with Lu Ming beforehand that there would be no life or death battle. For Life and Death Sword faction, there was no such agreement. Their swords were too dangerous. Once they struck, it would be a life or death battle. Facing the genius from Life and Death Sword faction, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Boom! A chaotic cyclic seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand and blasted toward his opponent. Clang! The battle sword was unsheathed and a terrifying sword radiance cut through the void and slashed toward the chaotic cyclic seal. The dazzling sword radiance hit the chaotic cyclic seal and made an unpleasant sound. Bang! In the end, the terrifying sword radiance and the chaotic cyclic seal collapsed at the same time and dissipated in the air. Lu Ming and the genius from Life and Death Sword faction did not move at all. He blocked it. The genius from Life and Death Sword faction blocked Lu Ming's attack. How terrifying! Life and Death Sword faction is indeed worthy of their name. Their combat strength is so terrifying that they can block Lu Ming's attack head-on. Terrifying. The others are no match for them at all. I don't know how many more moves Lu Ming can make like that. This is going to be interesting. The fact that the genius from Life and Death Sword faction could block Lu Ming's attack attracted a lot of discussion. At the same time, many people were excited and were guessing who would win. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. He had already fought a few people in front of him, and the terrifying attacks had already been unleashed 7 times. Would Lu Ming's vital essence be able to withstand it? On the platform, the only remaining genius from the Fiend Castle and a genius from the Sky Seat Palace both had extremely grave expressions on their faces. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction and Lu Ming were too strong. With the two of them around, they had no hope of reaching the end. Let's hope that both of them are seriously injured. The Sky Pride of the Heavenly King's Palace thought to himself. Not only him, but the young man from the Demon Castle also thought the same. If Lu Ming and the young man from the Life and Death Sword faction were both injured, then they would have a chance. On the fighting ring, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. To think that his opponent was able to block his primal chaos flipping sky seal unscathed. His combat prowess was truly terrifying. Again, the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction had an intense battle intent in his eyes as he slashed out with his battle sword. Another terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming once again condensed the primal chaos flipping sky seal and collided with his opponent. This time, it was still a tie. What a powerful sword technique! I can only increase the power of the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Lu Ming thought to himself. He formed a seal with his hands, and another primal chaos flipping sky seal was condensed. However, the power of this primal chaos flipping sky seal was 70% of Lu Ming's full power. A terrifying aura filled the air, and everyone was shocked. How can this be? Lu Ming's attack seems to have become stronger. This is unbelievable. Did he not use his full power just now? The scene was in an uproar as everyone was shocked. Lu Ming had not used his full power when he had unleashed such a terrifying attack. Now, he had increased the power of his attack. What was Lu Ming's limit? Boom! The primal chaos flipping sky seal, which was 70% of its power, was directed towards the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction. Life and death in a thought. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction said coldly. Then, a sword light burst forth as he became one with his sword. A terrifying sword light slashed towards the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. The sword light and the primal chaos flipping sky seal dissipated. A figure retreated rapidly to the edge of the fighting ring before he could stabilize himself. It was the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction. At this moment, the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. I've lost. After a moment of silence, the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction said. He took a step forward and rushed down the fighting ring, landing on the spectator stand of the Life and Death Sword faction. Phew! Secretly, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He felt that he was lucky. The genius of the Life and Death Sword faction was not seriously injured. If he had continued to fight, he would have been in trouble. This was because his true essence was about to be exhausted. He had used the primal chaos flipping sky seal so many times. Although he had not used his full power, the consumption of his true essence was still shocking. After so many times, his true essence was severely depleted. With the defeat of the genius of the Life and Death Sword faction, there were only 2 people left on the fighting ring. Next, it was the turn of the youth from the Demon Castle. Do you want to continue to challenge me? Lu Ming looked at the youth from the Demon Castle. The youth from the Demon Castle looked terrible. However, he had no choice but to fight. Boom! The youth from the Demon Castle landed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble. Lu Ming, I don't believe that your true essence is endless. The youth from the Demon Castle let out a roar. His body swelled rapidly and turned into a giant ape that was dozens of meters tall. The ancient divine ape was a terrifying divine beast. There was no doubt that the true form of the youth from the Demon Castle was an ancient divine ape. Moreover, it was a pure-blooded ancient divine ape, a true divine beast. Roar! The ancient divine ape let out a roar. A huge iron rod appeared in its hand, and it smashed towards Lu Ming. Wind element skill. This time, Lu Ming did not use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Instead, he used the wind element skill to dodge the attack of the ancient divine ape. Many people were stunned. Why did Lu Ming stop attacking? Although the ancient divine ape was strong, it was at most on the same level as Mo. It was not as strong as the genius from the Life and Death Sword faction. Why did Lu Ming not defeat it directly? In the next moment, they all knew the answer. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a pile of origin stones appeared. The devouring power in Lu Ming's hand exploded, and he started to devour the origin stones. He is absorbing the origin stones to recover. His true essence can't continue. It's all used up. Many people shouted. The eyes of the people from the Heavenly King's Hall and the Demon Castle lit up. Lu Ming had finally exhausted his true essence? Roar. The ancient divine ape was even more excited. The iron rod in its hand smashed towards Lu Ming like a storm. If he did not use this opportunity to defeat Lu Ming, he would not have another chance. Lu Ming used the wind element skill and dodged the attacks of the ancient divine ape. At the same time, he devoured the origin chi of the origin stones and refined them rapidly. Boom, boom, boom. Shadows of the rods smashed on the fighting ring, causing it to rumble nonstop. Lu Ming's body flickered as he shuttled through the shadows of the rods. The ancient divine ape is not good at speed. Damn it. Chapter 1549. At this moment, he was the most anxious person. He could not wait for the ancient divine ape to blast Lu Ming off the fighting ring. It would be best if Lu Ming retaliated appropriately and injured the ancient divine ape. That would be perfect. That way, he could easily defeat the ancient divine ape and clinch the victory. However, the ancient divine ape was not good at speed. Although its attacks were strong, it could not hit Lu Ming. Don't run. The ancient divine ape roared. Its iron rod kept swinging, but it could not hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored it and focused on refining the origin stones. Junior brother Lu Ming, go for it. Tian Chue and Xuening Xin cheered for Lu Ming from the Dragon God Valley's stands. Lu Ming will win. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley also cheered. Right now, they were getting closer to the final victory. Most of the disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley hoped that Lu Ming would emerge victorious. It had been many years since the Divine Dragon Valley had won the first place at the Treasure Ding Ding meeting. Of course, there were a few who did not want Lu Ming to win. Those were the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley and He Yu. The ancient divine ape will smash him to death. He Yu's eyes widened as he stared at the fighting ring. He did not want Lu Ming to win. Instead, he hoped that Lu Ming would be defeated or killed by the ancient divine ape. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley had similar thoughts. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. Lu Ming's movement technique was fast. The ancient divine ape was not good at speed. No matter how He Yu attacked, Lu Ming would always be able to dodge it. The fight went on for more than 10 minutes. No, this can't go on. Lu Ming keeps dodging. What's the point? Let's declare him the loser. That's right. Are we going to keep this up? The disciples of the Monster Castle yelled. Humph, there is no rule in the treasure sorting party that says that you can't dodge. Movement technique is also a part of your combat power. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley sneered. Then, if this continues, when will it end? 3 days? 5 days? Lu Ming is absorbing origin stones to restore his true essence during the competition. This is simply impossible. The origin energy he absorbs is less than the energy he consumes using his movement technique. If this continues, then he won't be able to finish the competition in half a month. The people from the Demon Castle retorted. The people of Dragon God Valley remained silent with cold faces. Indeed, if this were to go on, who knew when it would end? Furthermore, in the midst of the competition, absorbing the ores would definitely not be fast. This was not the way to go. Who said it would take 3 to 5 days? At this moment, Lu Ming's figure stopped and a faint voice was heard. Then, a dragon's roar was heard, and a punch was thrown out. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with the iron rod of the ancient divine ape, blocking the iron rod's attack. Not running anymore? Many people were stunned. If you don't want to run, then you'll lose. The ancient godly ape roared, and continued to attack Lu Ming with the iron rod. This time, it was even more powerful than before. "You're the one who will lose." Lu Ming formed a seal with his hands, and a huge chaotic flipping sky seal appeared above the ancient godly ape's head and pressed down on him. It's that move again. How is this possible? Didn't he use up all his true essence? How can he use it again? Impossible. How can he absorb and refine the origin stone so quickly? Many people shouted in disbelief. They did not know the wonders of the devouring power. The devouring power could devour and refine the ores at an astonishing speed. Although it had only been a few minutes, it was enough for Lu Ming to recover a lot. It was enough for him to use the chaotic flipping sky seal at 50 to 60% of its strength a few times. The chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down, and the pressure made the ancient godly ape's heart palpitate. He could not care less about attacking Lu Ming and swung his iron rod upward. Boom! The huge iron rod hit the chaotic flipping sky seal, and a loud boom was heard. The ancient godly ape roared, and his huge body shook violently. He kept retreating, and the ground rumbled when he stepped on it. The ancient godly ape's arms kept shaking, and he almost lost his grip on the iron rod. Blood kept flowing out of his fangs. Buzz! The sky shook, and another chaotic flipping sky seal was formed. "I admit defeat." The ancient godly ape roared, and his body shrank rapidly. He ran out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The chaotic flipping sky seal in the sky dissipated. The ancient godly ape rushed down the fighting ring. There was no need to continue the fight. He knew that he would lose when Lu Ming formed two chaotic flipping sky seals in a row. Hence, he admitted defeat. Another person. Lu Ming had defeated another person. In addition to the 3 people he had killed, 9 top supreme talents had been defeated by Lu Ming. There was only one person left, and that was 10 people. Come on, let's decide the winner. Lu Ming looked at the last person, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall. The supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall stepped onto the fighting ring and looked at Lu Ming with a solemn expression. "Lu Ming, although you have absorbed some origin stones, you haven't recovered much. How many more moves can you make?" The supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall asked to test Lu Ming. "Why don't you give it a try?" Lu Ming smiled. Of course. The supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall was filled with fighting spirit. His body started to turn golden. There was only one battle left. The supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall would not give up. Perhaps Lu Ming did not have much true origin left. As long as he could withstand a few more moves, he would be able to defeat Lu Ming. He had to take a gamble and fight with all his might. Heavenly King Apocalypse. The supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall turned golden. His body swelled up like the youth in purple armor, but the color was different. A golden giant sword appeared in his hand, and he charged at Lu Ming. At that moment, a chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! The chaotic flipping sky seal flew out and collided with the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall. In the golden light, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall was sent flying. The golden light around his body dimmed, and he spat out blood. He was injured in one move. However, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall did not give up and continued to charge forward. He was betting that Lu Ming's true origin would be depleted soon. However, to his despair, another chaotic flipping sky seal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Boom! This time, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall was even more injured. Many of his bones were broken and his body shrunk. His aura was much weaker. However, there was still a look of determination in his eyes. He did not want to give up. Boom! Another huge primal chaos flipping sky seal appeared in the sky. "I have lost." At that moment, the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall said helplessly. He knew that it was impossible for him to win. With this move from Lu Ming, he would definitely die. He struggled to charge out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming looked on calmly. The chaotic flipping sky seal did not attack. After the supreme talent from Heavenly King Hall rushed out of the fighting ring, Lu Ming waved his hand and the chaotic flipping sky seal disappeared. Whoosh! Chapter 1550. This battle was really not easy to win. If he didn't have the chaotic flipping sky seal, a heaven-defying domain-type martial technique, he wouldn't have been able to win against so many experts. That is, unless his cultivation base was one level higher. We won. We won. Lu Ming won. Dragon God Valley won first place. The disciples of Dragon God Valley shouted excitedly. Some of them were so excited that they were trembling with tears in their eyes. The Dragon God Valley had a hard time in this battle. From the beginning, they were targeted by the Heavenly God Sect, the Sky Universe Demon Sect, and the Poison Sect. They kept killing the disciples of Dragon God Valley. At that time, they were furious and helpless. They even thought that they would be the first to be eliminated and not be able to participate in this treasure sorting meeting. However, they did not expect the situation to turn around. When there were only 4 people left, the Dragon God Valley started to fight back and took the initiative. In the end, when Lu Ming was the only one left, he defeated his opponents consecutively with his invincible talent and clinched the first place. With such a huge contrast, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were very excited. Of course, Yu and the disciples of Silver Dragon God Valley all looked gloomy. However, the disciples of the Heavenly God Sect, the Sky Universe Demon Sect, and the Poison Sect looked even worse. In this battle, the 3 great sects could be said to have lost everything. They had suffered a double loss and suffered heavy losses. Although they had killed many people from the Divine Dragon Valley, they were those with weak cultivation levels and were not very talented. However, those who had died in the hands of Lu Ming and the rest were true geniuses. Many of them were elites with medium earth spiritual bodies. In particular, the 3 people who were killed by Lu Ming were elites with high earth spiritual bodies. They had suffered heavy losses. The people of the other sects also had complicated expressions. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring, on the handsome and tall figure. In a sense, this treasure sorting meeting was a grand event for one person. That person was Lu Ming. Lu Ming alone dominated this competition. This was something that had never happened since the Treasure Ding Assembly was established. The treasure peddling meeting this time seemed to be held solely for Lu Ming. Ha ha ha, good, good, good. In the pavilion of the Dragon God Valley, the Saint Realm Elder stepped out and laughed. He said good 3 times, showing how excited this Saint Realm Elder was. Now, it's time for the reward. The Saint Realm Elder of Dragon God Valley looked at the pavilion of the Celestial God Sect. The Sage Stage Elder of the Celestial God Sect flew out with an ugly expression. He reluctantly took out a jade bottle and said, "The last person remaining in this small meeting will be rewarded with 7 Emperor Domain pills." Then, he tossed the jade bottle to Lu Ming. Lu Ming caught it and opened it to take a look. There were 7 sparkling and translucent Emperor's Domain pills inside. They were dazzling and resplendent, and they emitted a rich medicinal fragrance. Just a whiff of the medicinal fragrance was enough to make one feel comfortable all over. Countless envious and jealous gazes were cast at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and looked at Tian Shui, Xuanning Xin, and Han Sun. He said, "Senior brother Han Sun, senior brother Tian Shui, senior sister, come to the battle stage." They were stunned and stepped onto the battle stage one after another. "Senior brother Han Sun, this Emperor's Domain pill is for you." Lu Ming poured out an Emperor's Domain pill and handed it to Han Sun. Han Sun was stunned and he quickly declined, saying, "I can't accept this. The rule of the small meeting is that only the last person remaining will receive the reward. You're the last person, so the reward naturally belongs to you." Han Sun shook his head. "Senior brother Han Sun, you don't have to be so polite. You were seriously injured in the battle with Saint Yu. This Emperor's Domain pill is what you deserve." Lu Ming said and handed the Emperor's Domain pill over. Seeing Lu Ming's sincere attitude, Han Sun hesitated and said, "Then Han Sun will thank junior brother Lu Ming." Saying this, he received the Emperor's Domain pill with joy. The Emperor's Domain pill was extremely helpful to him. With the help of the Emperor's Domain pill, he would be able to rank up to the 7th layer Martial Dominator realm in no time. "Senior brother, senior sister, there are still 6 pills left. We'll take 2 each." Lu Ming glanced at Tian Shui and Xuanning Xin. "No way, junior brother. It's all because of you that you were able to come first in the battle. We didn't help you at all. Xuanxin shook her head. That's right. I'm worried that you'll share it with us. Tianque rejected too. How about this? You'll take one each. What do you think? Lu Ming said with a smile. Tianque and Xuanxin hesitated for a moment before agreeing. After giving one to Tianque and Xuanxin, Lu Ming kept the remaining 4 Emperor's Domain pills. The 4 Emperor's Domain pills should be able to improve his cultivation. Wait. At that instant, a few figures entered the battle stage. They were He Yu, Yincheng, and a few other disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley. The one who spoke was He Yu. Lu Ming, are you going to keep the rest of the Emperor's Domain pills? So many of us have taken part in the trial. Are you planning to keep them all to yourself? He Yu said with a hollow laugh. Oh, what do you want? Lu Ming said calmly. Of course we'll share them. He Yu said with a hollow laugh. Share them? Bullshit. The rules of the trial state that only the last person will be rewarded. Why should junior brother Lu Ming share the Emperor's Domain pills? Tianque snapped in an unpleasant tone. Humph. We all contributed to Lu Ming being able to stay until the end. How could we not share them? He Yu said. Contributed? Lu Ming said as he looked at He Yu with disdain. You're a coward, and you didn't follow the rules. You were the first to rush up, and you purposely lost. Is this your contribution? I did it on purpose to leave behind a useful body. Otherwise, I'd just be throwing my life away. Moreover, we were facing such a situation in the beginning. So many of our brothers died because you offended the 3 great sects of the Heavenly God sect. He Yu quibbled and made a false accusation in the end. Oh, is that so? Lu Ming said coldly. Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. He took a step forward and slapped He Yu. He Yu was shocked. He had never expected Lu Ming to attack him. Slap. There was a crisp sound of a slap. Lu Ming had slapped He Yu's face directly. He Yu's body was sent flying like a sandbag. He landed heavily on the ground below the fighting ring. Half of his face was smashed. Lu Ming did not want to waste his breath on such a person. He would fight if he could. He was completely dumbfounded. He lay on the ground and covered his smashed face as he stared blankly at Lu Ming. What right does a piece of trash like you have to share the Emperor's Domain pills? Lu Ming said coldly. At this moment, He Yu came to his senses and shouted crazily, Lu Ming, you're audacious and lawless. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have some strength? Senior and junior brothers, am I right? All of us have contributed, so why should the reward be given to him alone? Chapter 1551. However, those youths were all looking at He Yu with disdain and disdain. Lu Ming had gotten the reward himself. They were not so despicable as to split the reward with Lu Ming. You. He Yu was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood when he saw everyone's disdainful gazes. He looked at the sage realm elder and said, Elder, you must uphold justice. Shut up and get lost. Don't embarrass yourself here. The sage state elder scolded coldly and looked at He Yu with disgust. He Yu turned pale and stood there, tongue-tied. Do you want to be slapped too? Lu Ming looked at the people from Silver City. The people from Silver City turned pale. They did not dare to say a word and quickly left the fighting ring. All right, this meeting has ended perfectly. Disciples of the 7th level and above, go back and prepare for the treasure sorting meeting. The sage state elder of Dragon God Valley said and stepped into the air. Buzz. At this moment, there was a terrifying fluctuation in the sky. A ray of Saint Light fell from the sky and attacked Lu Ming. This ray of Saint Light was too terrifying. It was like a divine sword, and its speed was unbelievable. Danger! Danger! At this moment, Lu Ming sensed a fatal danger. The muscles all over his body tightened, and his hair stood on end. His instincts told him to retreat, to dodge, but his body seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move at all. Who is it? The sage state elder of Dragon God Valley roared, but it was too late to help. The terrifying ray of Saint Light was about to land on Lu Ming's head. At this moment, there were ripples in the space around Lu Ming like water waves. Poof! The ray of sword light pierced Lu Ming's head. However, Lu Ming's body shattered like glass. It was an afterimage. Then, the space rippled. Lu Ming's body reappeared a few meters away. On Lu Ming's shoulder, Bubble's body glowed as it chirped. It seemed that Lu Ming really thought that he was going to die just now. That was an attack that he couldn't resist. Fortunately, Bubble acted in time. Wong. The pressure in the air grew even stronger. Lu Ming looked up and his pupils shrank. A white figure was walking down from the sky step by step. Son of God. He was the Son of God, who was known as the leader of the top 10 geniuses. Many people were shocked. The Son of God had appeared and even attacked Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming had killed so many people from the Celestial Divine Sect and ruined the Celestial Divine Sect's plan to come in first place? Hence, the Son of God wanted to kill Lu Ming out of anger? A terrifying pressure emanated from the deity's body, pressing down on Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuaning Xin. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on them. Space-time domain. It seems that you were the one who secretly sabotaged the Dragon Palace. The Son of God said indifferently as he looked down at Lu Ming coldly. Finally, his gaze fell on Bubble, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He knew what the Son of God was talking about. The Son of God was talking about the sabotage of his God-forbidden ancient void talisman in the Dragon Palace. The attack just now was a test. Bubble had used the space-time domain, which proved that the person who sabotaged the Dragon Palace was Lu Ming. Of course, if it wasn't Lu Ming, the attack just now would have killed Lu Ming. Why would the Son of God care if he killed the wrong person? Then, the Son of God glanced at Tian Shui and Xuaning Xin and said coldly, "You were the ones who took away the Dragon Palace's treasury?" "Yes, it was us," Lu Ming said. "Treasures depend on luck and wisdom. Those who are fated will get them." What a joke. Luck and wisdom. Everything is in vain in front of absolute power. The Son of God said indifferently. He stood in the air, his body emitting a milky white holy light like a deity. His tone was full of dominance and confidence in his own power. Lu Ming sneered and said with a hint of mockery, "How did that treasure fall into our hands? After I kill you today, the treasure will still be mine." Strong murderous intent burst out from the Son of God's eyes. The Son of God had won first place in 2 consecutive treasure sorting meetings and was the leader of the top 10 prodigies in the Zhangzhou state. Everything he did was smooth sailing. No one could compete with him for any treasure. But last time, in the trip to the Dragon Palace, he suffered many losses. They had used the divine restriction ancient void talisman, but Lu Ming had secretly destroyed it. Later on, they had chased after the black real dragon's corpse, but the black real dragon's corpse had escaped in the end. As for the Dragon Palace treasure house, it had fallen into the hands of Lu Ming and the other 2. Unknowingly, he seemed to have suffered a great loss in front of Lu Ming and the other 2. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming and the other 2, especially Lu Ming. The surrounding people had different expressions, but they all understood that Lu Ming and the Son of God must have had a conflict because of an opportunity. And from the looks of it, the Son of God was at a disadvantage. No wonder his murderous intent was so strong. Haha, Lu Ming actually offended the Son of God. Serves him right. Serves him right. Not far away, you, Silver City, and the others were shouting in their hearts. They gloated and wanted the Son of God to kill Lu Ming immediately. Boom. Holy light shone from the Son of God's body. Endless holy light condensed into a long sword that stood between heaven and earth. Its vast power made many youths tremble. Swoosh. The terrifying sword light slashed violently toward Lu Ming. At this moment, black wings appeared behind Lu Ming's back and a shield appeared in front of him. Tian Shui and Xuaning Xin both took out their holy weapons. How could they just sit and wait? Stop! The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley roared. She stepped in the air like a true dragon and reached out a dragon claw toward the sword light. Boom! Heaven and earth roared. The dragon claw and the sword light dissipated. Old man, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God Sect rushed out from the pavilion and slammed his palm toward the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley. The 2 of them clashed, and the sky trembled. Their bodies shook and stood in opposite directions. Vast Saintess aura filled the air as the 2 of them faced each other. Go away. The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley shouted. I told you, why are you meddling in the affairs of the younger generation? Let them settle it themselves. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly God Sect sneered. That's right. The treasure auction has ended. We old men have no reason to meddle in the affairs of the younger generation. The Saintess Elder of Heavenly Universe Demon Sect said coldly. Then, the Saintess Elder of Desire Poison Sect also appeared. He locked onto the Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley to prevent him from meddling. The Saintess Elder of Dragon God Valley looked terrible. These people were determined to kill Lu Ming here. Is the Heavenly God Sect such a sore loser? Seeing that Dragon God Valley and Lu Ming won first place, you want to send people to kill Lu Ming. Are you allowed to win but not others? Chapter 1552. Nonsense. The Sage Realm Elder of the Celestial God Sect shouted and looked at Qiu Yingying coldly. Qiu Yingying raised her head stubbornly and looked back at him. That's right. The Celestial God Sect is such a sore loser. If you had said so earlier, we wouldn't have competed with you. We would have given you the first place. That's right. Let the other sects not participate. Tell the world that the Celestial God Sect is the first in the world. The other disciples of the Dragon God Valley also shouted and glared at the deity and the Sage Realm Elder of the Celestial God Sect. They directly said that the deity wanted to kill Lu Ming because Lu Ming had won first place. That was why the Celestial God Sect wanted to kill Lu Ming. Shut up, the deity shouted coldly. His voice was like thunder, and a terrifying aura pressed down on the disciples of the Dragon God Valley. The disciples of the Dragon God Valley were shocked, as if a mountain was pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. I, the deity, have never needed a reason to kill, but today, I will give you one. The deity said indifferently, because they have done something they shouldn't have done. Therefore, they must die. Even if today's meeting didn't happen, they must die. Hee, what do you mean by something you shouldn't have done? Didn't you just let a few people with lower cultivation than you take away your treasures? Deity, how dare you kill people? A deep voice was heard. In the void, a purple light flashed and a figure appeared in the sky. Zifeng, the demon of the Dragon God Valley. Zifeng. You want to stop me? The deity looked at Zifeng coldly. If you want to kill the people of the Dragon God Valley, we must fight. Zifeng replied. You are no match for me. The deity said coldly. We haven't fought for 3 years. Not necessarily. Zifeng said with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. Is that so? Then I will kill you first. The deity was very aggressive. He took a step forward, and the world rumbled. Terrifying saint light shot up into the sky and turned into a snow-white saint sword, slashing towards Zifeng. Roar! Zifeng let out a loud roar, and the sound of a dragon's roar reverberated in the air. Purple light radiated from his body, and dense purple dragon scales appeared on his skin. 2 dragon horns actually sprouted from his forehead. As for Zifeng's hands, they transformed into dragon claws. With a roar, Zifeng charged at the Son of God. His claws continued to claw out, shattering the Son of God's holy blade. Holy light slash. The divine child's expression remained calm. He clenched his fist in the air and holy light coalesced into a holy blade, slashing at Zifeng. Boom, boom. The 2 monstrous geniuses continued to fight in the air, exchanging more than 10 moves. The sky seemed to be divided into white and purple. The oppressive pressure made it difficult for people to breathe. How terrifying. Is this the power of the top 10 monstrous geniuses? It's amazing. I've seen semi-sage experts fight before, but they weren't as strong as this. They can easily kill an ordinary semi-sage expert, right? How terrifying. How could someone below the Saint Realm reach such a level? Many people cried out, feeling extremely shocked. Even the Sage Realm elders had grave expressions on their faces. Clearly, these Saint Realm experts had no choice but to pay attention to such combat prowess. The sky was completely covered by white and purple light. 2 figures were crisscrossing each other. Occasionally, dragon roars could be heard. Boom. Suddenly, there was a terrifying tremor in the sky. A figure quickly retreated, taking dozens of steps back in the air before coming to a stop. It was Zifeng. At this moment, there was a deep cut on Zifeng's body that went straight to his bones. There was a terrifying power of holy light that was constantly eroding Zifeng's body. There was a trace of blood at the corner of Zifeng's mouth. His aura was somewhat weak. Could it be that Zifeng was defeated? In the air, the Son of God strolled out. His clothes were neat and tidy, and his aura was stable. It didn't seem like he had just experienced a great battle. Everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Son of God had won, and it didn't seem like a difficult victory. The Son of God was indeed the leader of the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang state. Although they were both top 10 monstrous geniuses, Zifeng didn't seem to be a match for the Son of God. I've said it before. You're no match for me. Today, I want to kill the three of them. No one can save them. The Son of God said, full of confidence. No one could save whoever he wanted to kill. This was the dominance of the Son of God. Originally, if he wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two, he could have chosen to do it elsewhere. That way, there would be less resistance and it would be easier. However, he chose to do it here because he was that domineering. He wanted to kill Lu Ming and the other two in front of everyone to build his reputation. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming laughed. His laughter was full of mockery. What are you laughing at? The Son of God said coldly. I'm laughing at you, Son of God. You want to kill me only because you're afraid. Why do you have to find so many high-sounding reasons? Lu Ming laughed. I'm afraid. What a joke. What do you have that makes me afraid? The Son of God said, because of my potential. Today, you've seen my potential. You're afraid that I'll catch up to you in the future. You're afraid that I'll take the first place in the treasure sorting convention 3 years later. That's why you're afraid. You're afraid of my potential. That's why you want to kill me today to prevent future troubles. Lu Ming said loudly. The words caused the hearts of many to shudder. The potential that Lu Ming had displayed this time was indeed shocking. With a cultivation of the 4th layer martial emperor realm, he had defeated and killed 10 top experts consecutively and obtained the first place in the treasure ordering party. In the history of the Tsang continent, there had never been such a shocking achievement since the treasure ordering party was established. Lu Ming did have the potential to be a threat to the Son of God. Lu Ming's cultivation was still weak now, but in another 6 or 9 years, would he be able to defeat the Son of God? Could it be that the Son of God was not afraid at all? Such a thought emerged in many people's minds. The Son of God wore a cold expression as he said, You will never be my match. I have no match in the Tsangzhou continent. My opponents are outside of the Tsangzhou continent. The Son of God spoke with great confidence. Among his peers in the Tsangzhou continent, there was no one worthy of his attention. He had set his sights outside of the Tsangzhou continent to compete with the peerless geniuses outside of the Tsangzhou continent. Even the terrifying geniuses of the monarch forces were his match. Since you are so confident, I will challenge you now. In 3 years, at the treasure sorting convention, we will fight to the death. Do you dare? Lu Ming said loudly, his voice echoing throughout the entire place. Lu Ming's voice was also filled with great confidence. He had also come this far by stepping over the bodies of countless geniuses. He was also confident that he was invincible. The Son of God had a better background. He had been cultivating in the heavenly god sect of Yuanlu since he was young. The cultivation environment there was much better than Lu Ming's. Moreover, the Son of God was at least 7 or 8 years older than Lu Ming. Now, the Son of God's cultivation was much higher than his, which was why he could look down on him from the sky. However, he was confident that in a few years, he would be able to catch up to the Son of God and stand in front of him as an equal. He would not be looked down upon like he was now. Chapter 1553. The deity stood in the air and looked down at Lu Ming. He did not change his mind because of Lu Ming's words. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Haha, what a joke. What kind of provocation is this? You are clearly afraid. Or rather, the celestial sect is afraid that I will grow stronger. So, they sent you here to find a reason to kill me. Otherwise, why would they not even dare to accept my challenge? Lu Ming said, No matter how glib your tongue is, You will still die today. The deity shouted coldly. Holy light burst out and formed a holy light blade that illuminated the area. Roar. Zifeng let out a dragon's roar and charged at the deity. Get lost. The sage realm elder of Dragon God Valley roared. He wanted to help Zifeng, but he was blocked by the sage realm elders of the celestial sect. In addition, the elders of the desire poison sect were glaring at him. Let's go. Lu Ming sent a message to Tian Chue and Xuanxin and prepared to retreat. However, at this moment, the clouds in the sky surged and a foot appeared in the void. This foot was like the foot of a giant. It was huge and came down from the sky, stomping down on the deity. Who is it? The deity roared. Holy light burst out and he slammed his palm into the sky, forming a holy light palm print that blasted towards the giant foot. However, when the palm print came into contact with the giant foot, it collapsed. The giant foot did not stop and continued to stomp on the deity. The deity roared and a white jade pagoda appeared on his body. The white jade pagoda expanded and a vast sage realm aura burst out. Boom! The giant foot stomped on the white jade pagoda. The pagoda shook violently and the light shield on the pagoda collapsed. Bam! The deity's body fell like a meteorite and crashed heavily on the fighting ring. A terrifying roar came from the fighting ring and cracks appeared on it. One should know that the fighting ring was extremely hard. Lu Ming and the others had not been able to leave a mark on the fighting ring, but now the fighting ring had cracked. The deity's face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He struggled to get up, and his hair danced in the wind. He was filled with killing intent as he stared at the sky. A burly figure appeared in the sky and stepped down. The figure seemed to be in his 30s. He had a burly figure and was emitting a vast aura. Third senior brother. It's third senior brother. Third senior brother is here. That's great. Tian Chue and Xuanxin shouted excitedly when they saw the man. Third senior brother? Lu Ming's heart stirred. His master, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley, had a total of 9 true disciples. However, Lu Ming had only met his second senior brother, Long Yuanshan, Tian Chue, and Xuanxin. He had not met any of the other senior brothers and sisters. It was said that this third senior brother, Yang Tianzong, had broken through to the Saint Realm more than 10 years ago. He often went out to train. Who would have thought that he would appear here? 7th junior brother, 8th junior sister, long time no see. Yang Tian, Zhang Tian, and Xuanxin nodded. They then looked at Lu Ming and said, "This must be junior brother. You are indeed a dragon among men." Lu Ming greets third senior brother. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Yang Tianzong. Ha ha ha, there's no need to be so polite. Let's settle this first. Yang Tianzong laughed and looked at the deity. He sneered and said, "You are very arrogant. Come, let me see what you can do." Boom. Yang Tianzong took a step forward and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. It was the aura of a sage, the aura of a sage. The terrifying aura of a sage pressed down on the deity. At the same time, Yang Tianzong stretched out his hand and a huge dragon claw appeared, grabbing at the deity. Whoosh! A terrifying demonic saber slashed out from the side. A combat sword made of poisonous gas pierced through the void and collided with the dragon claw, blocking it. At the same time, 2 elders appeared in front of Yang Tianzong. They were the Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect. This is a matter of the younger generation. Why are you, a sage, interfering? Let them settle it themselves. If you want to fight, I will accompany you. The Elder of the Sky Universe Demon Sect said coldly. The Elder of the Desire Poison Sect did not say anything, but his attitude said it all. His body was filled with poisonous gas that kept rolling. 2 old men, I will deal with you first. Yang Tianzong's eyes turned cold as he roared like a dragon. Dragon scales appeared on his arms as he took a step forward and charged towards the Saint Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect. Kill! Kill! The Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect shouted as they charged at Yang Tianzong with terrifying auras. Boom! 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 There were 5 to 6 explosions in the sky. Then, The crowd saw two figures frantically retreating. Their bodies were trembling, and there was a claw mark on each of their bodies. Their bodies were almost pierced through, and their bodies were covered in blood. They had lost. The two Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect had joined forces and attacked together. However, they had been defeated in just 5 to 6 moves. They had been injured by Yang Tianzong, and their clothes were stained with blood. The difference in their combat strength was too great. This time, I will spare your lives. Next time, I will kill you, Yang Tianzong said coldly. The two Sage Realm Elders of the Desire Poison Sect and the Sky Universe Demon Sect had ugly expressions on their faces. However, there was fear in their eyes. Also, let me correct you on one thing. I am still a few years away from 50 years old. Therefore, I am still part of the younger generation. As for cultivation, this kid is a sage to be, and he is 7 to 8 years older than my junior brother. If he can attack my junior brother, why can't I attack him? Having said that, Yang Tianzong looked at the deity's son again. Boom! Yang Tianzong suddenly took a step forward, and a giant foot that looked exactly like Yang Tianzong appeared in the sky and stomped down on the deity's son again. The deity's son shouted as he tried to block the attack with his holy weapon. However, he was almost flattened by the attack. He knelt on the ground and vomited blood. Don't you think that you are strong? Aren't you just trash in front of me? Yang Tianzong mocked. You have only cultivated for 10 more years than me. If you give me 10 more years, no, 5 more years, I will be able to stomp you under my feet. The deity's son shouted angrily as his eyes turned red. He was the deity's son, and he was extremely talented. Ever since he rose to power, he had been surrounded by many people. He had never been humiliated like this before. He had knelt on the ground in front of everyone. At that moment, he was furious. He wanted to kill Yang Tianzong and everyone else who had witnessed the scene. You are not qualified to challenge me. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother in 3 years' time. If you can defeat my junior brother, I will give you a chance to challenge me. Yang Tianzong sneered. All right, the deity's son shouted as he looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I accept your challenge. We will fight at the treasure sorting meeting in 3 years' time. I will take your life in 3 years' time, Lu Ming said coldly. Ha ha ha, how arrogant of you. However, let me tell you this. I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years' time. If you want to challenge me, you will have to defeat my junior brother and pass the treasure sorting meeting. Only then will you be qualified to challenge me. The deity's son said coldly as he regained his confidence. He firmly believed that he would not be defeated. Chapter 1554. The Divine Sun will break through to the Saint Realm in 3 years. Many people were shocked. However, it was normal. The Divine Sun had been in the Sage-to-Be realm for almost 10 years. With his talent, it would not be difficult for him to break through to the Saint Realm. Once he broke through to the Saint Realm, his status would be completely different. He would truly enter the upper echelons of the Zhangzhou state. At the same time, he would not be able to participate in the treasure sorting convention. No one else would have a chance if a Sage-to-Be participated in the treasure sorting convention. In other words, if Lu Ming wanted to challenge the Divine Sun, he would have to pass the treasure sorting convention. If he was killed at the treasure sorting convention, there would be no way to challenge him. In 3 years, Lu Ming won't stand a chance. Someone shook his head and sighed. That's right. He won't stand a chance. Others shook their heads. Lu Ming was only in the LV4 Martial Royal Realm. In 3 years, no matter how fast Lu Ming improved, it would be extremely fast for him to reach the LV8 or even the LV9 Martial Royal Realm. However, what was the use of reaching the LV8 or LV9 Martial Royal Realm? How could he fight with the Divine Sun? Even if the Divine Sun was still in the Sage-to-Be realm, Lu Ming would not be his match. Once the Divine Sun broke through to the Saint Realm, Lu Ming would not stand a chance. It was not impossible for someone to become a Sage-to-Be before reaching the Saint Realm. Since ancient times, not many people had been able to do so. Every one of those people was a terrifying genius whose name shook the world. Then I'll let you live for 3 more years, the Divine Sun said coldly. Then, without saying anything else, he turned and left. He turned into a beam of saint light and disappeared. Let's go. The Saint Realm Elder of the Celestial God sect shouted and left. The disciples of the Celestial God sect hurriedly followed and left. After the people of the Celestial God sect left, the people of the Sky Universe Demon sect and the Poison sect also left. Then, the people of the other sects also left. Lu Ming, if there's a chance, let's fight again in the future. Luo Xiang from the Life and Death Sword sect said loudly. Okay, let's fight another day. Lu Ming said. Goodbye. Luo Xiang cupped his fists and left. Thank you for your help, third senior brother. Lu Ming, Tian Chue, and Xuaning Xin cupped their fists at Yang Tianzong. Haha, you and I are brothers, there's no need to be so courteous. This time, I just happened to pass by Tsang Mountain and wanted to take a look. I didn't expect to encounter something like this. Yang Tianzong laughed heartily. Third senior brother, youngest junior brother defeated and killed 10 prodigies with superior earthly spiritual bodies all by himself and won first place in the treasure sorting party. Xuaning thought, oh, amazing, amazing. Little junior brother is truly blessed by the heavens. It's still master who has good taste. Yang Tianzong's eyes lit up. He hadn't been here for long, so he didn't know that Lu Ming had won first place at the treasure ordering convention. Senior brother, you flatter me. After that, everyone chatted as they flew toward the Dragon God Valley. Among the crowd of Dragon God Valley, Yu, Silver City, and the others were filled with unwillingness. Damn it, even under such circumstances, Lu Ming managed to escape. Yu cursed in his heart. Soon, everyone returned to the Dragon God Valley. Junior brother, junior sister, you've had a great battle. You should go back to your rooms to heal, Yang Tianzong said. Tian Chue and Xuaning nodded. They had been severely injured in the previous battle and were far from recovering. Many of the other disciples of Dragon God Valley were also injured and had returned to their rooms to heal. Everyone returned to their rooms. When Lu Ming returned to his room, he took out a pile of origin stones and devoured them to recover his true origin. Half a day later, Lu Ming had fully recovered. At this moment, Lu Ming waved his hand and a few storage rings appeared in his hand. He had obtained all of them from killing his opponents at the treasure sorting party. Lu Ming began to count them. When he was done, Lu Ming was overjoyed. This time, he had gained a lot. One should know that the people he had killed were all prodigies and were extremely wealthy. Needless to say, there were hundreds of millions of origin stones. There were also dozens of spiritual weapons of the Emperor level. There were even as many as 6 sacred weapons. In particular, there were 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles. The 3 sky-piercing flying shuttles were found in the storage rings of the 3 top prodigies, Mo He and Wu Qiandu. It was really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. Lu Ming had always wanted to buy a sky-piercing flying shuttle. He did not expect to obtain 3 at once. Lu Ming picked one, erased the mark of its original owner, and began to refine it. It was very easy to refine the sky-piercing flying shuttle. In less than a day, Lu Ming had refined it. The sky-piercing flying shuttle floated above Lu Ming's palm and changed its size according to Lu Ming's will. After playing with it for a while, Lu Ming put away the sky-piercing flying shuttle and took out the flowing element gloves to refine it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. In the past few days, news of what had happened at the Treasure Ding Ding convention had quickly spread throughout the Tsang Mountain. Furthermore, it had spread to the entire Tsang province at an extremely fast speed. Lu Ming's name shook everyone's heart. The most talked about in this competition was Lu Ming's name. He had defeated and killed 10 top prodigies all by himself and obtained first place. In the end, he had challenged the God's Son. 3 years later, he would fight the God's Son to the death. Although no one was optimistic about Lu Ming's chances, believing that Lu Ming would be able to fight the God's Son in 3 years, many people remembered the name Lu Ming. 3 days later, the flowing element gloves were refined by Lu Ming. With a thought, the flowing element gloves turned into liquid and wrapped around Lu Ming's right palm. As Lu Ming injected his true yuan, the flowing element gloves became heavier and heavier. In the end, even Lu Ming's arm was trembling slightly. So heavy, so heavy. coupled with the primal chaos domain and the hell-suppressing heaven skill. How terrifying would the power of this punch be? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. He couldn't wait to find an expert to test it out. With a thought, the flowing element gloves seemed to come alive and burrowed into Lu Ming's skin, disappearing without a trace. With a thought, it would reappear again. It was very convenient to use. It's time to leave, Lu Ming muttered under his breath. There were still 5 days before the start of the treasure sorting assembly, but Lu Ming planned to leave and return to the Dragon God Valley to cultivate in seclusion. After all, he had seen the strength of the God Sun, Zifeng, Wang Jian, and the rest of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. There was no point in staying and watching the treasure sorting assembly. It was better to seize the time and cultivate. For Lu Ming, time was the most important thing. Lu Ming got up and walked out to find Tian Chue. Junior brother, you're leaving? Tian Chue asked in surprise. Yes, I came to the treasure sorting assembly to see the strength of the top 10 prodigies of Tsang State. Now that I've seen it, there's no point in staying any longer. So, I plan to return to the Dragon God Valley. Chapter 1555. Oh, in that case, junior brother, I'll lend you my sky-piercing flying shuttle. Tian Chue said. There's no need. I already have the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Mo He and the others contributed many good things. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took out 2 holy weapons, returning them to Tian Chue. Say goodbye to 8th senior sister for me. Lu Ming cupped his fists and soared into the air, flying out of the Tsang Mountain. After leaving the range of the Tsang Mountain, Lu Ming waved his hand, and the sky-piercing flying shuttle appeared. It rapidly expanded until it was 100 meters long. The doors opened, and Lu Ming entered the sky-piercing flying shuttle. This sky-piercing flying shuttle was very similar to Tian Chue's, and its grade was about the same. They were both low-grade sky-piercing flying shuttles. The higher-grade sky-piercing flying shuttles were faster, but they were shockingly expensive. Ordinary people could not afford them. After Lu Ming put away the origin stones, he determined the direction of the Divine Dragon Valley and drove the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Whoosh! The sky-piercing flying shuttle turned into a beam of light and disappeared, quickly flying in the direction of the Divine Dragon Valley. As for Lu Ming, he sat cross-legged in the sky-piercing flying shuttle and took out a jade bottle. The jade bottle contained the rewards of the treasure peddling meeting, the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Even with the sky-piercing flying shuttle, it would take about half a month to return to the Divine Dragon Valley. He could use this time to cultivate and refine the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Lu Ming poured out an Emperor Domain pill and swallowed it. Boom! After the Emperor Domain pill entered his stomach, it immediately turned into surging energy. What a strong energy! It is more than 10 times stronger than the Emperor Domain fruit. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he rejoiced. The Emperor Domain pill was indeed a pill that could raise a mid-stage martial monarch's cultivation by 1 layer. Its medicinal effects were shocking. It was refined with 9 Emperor Domain fruits and other precious herbs. Following that, Lu Ming focused and started to refine the medicinal energy. Time passed quickly, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. In 7 days, Lu Ming refined the 4 Emperor Domain pills. Peak 5th layer martial monarch. Lu Ming opened his eyes and felt the vast and boundless energy in his body, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Within 7 days, after refining the 4 Dominator pills, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved by 1 layer, reaching the peak of the 5th layer martial Dominator realm. What others could achieve with just 1 Emperor Domain pill, Lu Ming had to use a total of 4 Emperor Domain pills to achieve. But Lu Ming was still very satisfied. His cultivation had increased by 1 layer, and it was unknown how much time Lu Ming had saved. This was something that could improve both his origin energy and domain. Now, Lu Ming's chaotic domain had also reached the peak of level 5. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, if he participated in the treasure banquet, he could easily defeat a genius like Mo He. There was no need for him to use the primal chaos flipping sky seal. The treasure auction has already begun, right? Lu Ming's heart thumped. Then, he shook his head with a smile and closed his eyes to consolidate his cultivation base. In the blink of an eye, Another day had passed. Late at night, in the vast mountains, Lu Ming's space-piercing flying shuttle flashed across the sky like a meteor. Boom! Lu Ming was cultivating when the space-piercing flying shuttle suddenly shook violently. Someone is attacking the space-piercing flying shuttle. Lu Ming suddenly opened his eyes and looked outside through the crystal glass of the space-piercing flying shuttle. Above the pitch-black clouds, a few large hands came down from the sky and heavily bombarded the space-piercing flying shuttle. Rumble. The space-piercing flying shuttle shook violently as if it was about to explode. Then, a large hand grabbed the 100-meter-long space-piercing flying shuttle and smashed it into a nearby mountain. Boom! The mountain shook and shattered, sending debris flying everywhere. Damn it! Lu Ming's eyes were cold. His body moved, and he rushed out of the space-piercing flying shuttle. The space-piercing flying shuttle shrank rapidly and was put away by Lu Ming. In the pitch-black night sky, a dozen black figures appeared and surrounded Lu Ming. Kill. Without any superfluous words, one of them said coldly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than a dozen terrifying sword lights stabbed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. 7th layer Martial Royal Realm. All of them are experts above the 7th layer Martial Royal Realm. There are even some 8th layer Martial Royal Realm experts. Lu Ming's eyes widened. These people were all experts. None of them were below the 7th layer Martial Royal Realm. They were all high-level Martial Royal Realm experts. Without any hesitation, the black feather wings appeared. With a flap, Lu Ming soared into the sky. Whoosh, whoosh. A few terrifying sword lights suddenly appeared above his head. 8th layer Martial Royal Realm. The people who appeared above his head were all 8th layer Martial Royal Realm experts. Who is it? Countless thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Who wants to kill me? He had only told Tian Shui when he came out, but Tian Shui would not betray him. It was very likely that someone had been watching Lu Ming. As soon as Lu Ming came out of the Tsang Mountain, he had been targeted. The reason why they had only attacked now was that they were waiting for Lu Ming to lower his guard. They had also confirmed that there were no experts following Lu Ming, and that Lu Ming was alone. Kill! Lu Ming roared. The divine sword art burst out and formed a terrifying soul attack toward the people above his head. However, the other party's body merely trembled slightly, and he seemed to be fine. The sword gleam did not stop, and he continued to charge toward Lu Ming. The divine sword art is useless. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. At the same time, the black dragon spear appeared in his hand, and he thrust it forward. Whoosh! A ray of spear light destroyed a ray of sword light and directly pierced through a black-robed figure. The destructive power wiped out all the life force of that person. A LV-8 Martial Royal Realm expert was killed by Lu Ming. However, the other sword lights were already close to Lu Ming. The black wings flapped and blocked Lu Ming's body. Clang! Clang! The sword light stabbed Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body shook, and he was sent flying. Whoosh! With the help of this force, Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill. The black wings flapped again, and he rushed forward. Buzz! The black dragon spear swept out and turned into a 1,000-meter spear ray. A cultivator of the 7th Royal Martial Realm was hit by the attack. 13 streams of energy overlapped and his body exploded. The terrifying energy swept towards a second cultivator of the 8th Royal Martial Realm. That cultivator screamed in agony and was killed as well. With the black dragon spear in his hand, Lu Ming's attack was even more powerful. Even without the holy weapon, Lu Ming's cultivation was at the peak of LV-5 Martial Royal Realm. It was not too difficult for him to kill an ordinary LV-8 Martial Royal Realm expert. With the holy weapon, it was easy for him to kill an ordinary LV-8 Martial Royal Realm expert. Lu Ming killed 2 people in a row. However, the other sword lights fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming blocked with the black wings, but his body was also sent flying. After all, his opponents were LV-7 and LV-8 Martial Royal Realm experts. Although Lu Ming could kill those above his level, he could not deny their terrifying attack power. They were all high-level Martial Royal Realm experts, and their attack power was absolutely terrifying. If the sword light fell on Lu Ming, even if Lu Ming did not die, he would be injured. Attack with all your strength. A voice was heard. Kill, kill. The sword light continued to stab at Lu Ming. However, some of them changed their swords to sabers and shouted. The terrifying saber light tore through the void and lit up the night sky, slashing at Lu Ming. This is the silent saber art. Chapter 1556. The intentionless saber art was the ultimate technique of the intentionless saber sect, one of the 13 top sects of the Tsang continent. There were people from the intentionless saber sect among them. However, there was no conflict between him and the intentionless saber sect. Why would the intentionless saber sect want to kill him? Also, who were the other people who used swords? The heavenly divinity sect, the heavenly demonic sect, or the poison desire sect? Lu Ming's mind was filled with thoughts, but he did not stop moving. A shield appeared and expanded rapidly, hovering behind Lu Ming. He then flapped his black wings. Lu Ming randomly chose a direction and dashed toward it at high speed. Shush! Shush! The black dragon spear continued to thrust forward, emitting a terrifying spear glow that penetrated the air and collided with his opponents. Bang! Bang! A deafening explosion took place in the sky. Lu Ming broke through the opponent's attack and pierced the dantian of an 8th-level martial emperor with his spear, killing him instantly. At the same time, the black feather wings were like 2 heavenly sabers. With a slash, 2 7th-level martial emperors were split into 2. Buzz! In front of him, a magnificent saber glow slashed toward Lu Ming, as if it could break the heavens and earth apart. 9th layer martial dominator realm. Lu Ming's eyes widened rapidly. At that moment, Lu Ming was completely exhausted, thus he could not counterattack. He could only hold the black dragon spear in front of him. Dang! The saber glow struck the black dragon spear, causing it to vibrate vigorously. Lu Ming's figure was knocked backward. Behind him, a storm of attacks was launched. The sword glow and saber glow landed on the sacred weapon shield and knocked it flying. Lu Ming's body felt slightly numb, as he could feel the qi and blood in his body turning restless. There were too many experts, all of them at the advanced martial dominator realm. Sending so many people to kill Lu Ming was a sure kill move, as they were determined to take Lu Ming's life. There was nothing to be said, as this was a battle of life and death. Lu Ming let out a roar as a dragon's cry was heard from his body. Dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. At the same time, the 3rd bloodline appeared, causing a force to surge into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's strength to grow stronger. Kill! The black wings on Lu Ming's back flapped wildly, bringing about gusts of wind. In a flash, Lu Ming's figure rushed to the rear. The black dragon spear swept out with the power to sweep away 1,000 soldiers. Lu Ming killed the 2 7th-level martial emperor experts who were dashing toward him at high speed. Kill! 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 Lu Ming used his black feather wings and shield to protect himself. With the black dragon spear in his hand, he used all his strength to kill his way into the crowd. The 13 accumulating power strikes was simply too powerful. Combined with the power of a sacred weapon, an ordinary 8th-layer martial dominator would not be able to withstand it, let alone a 7th-layer martial dominator. With his long spear, Lu Ming seemed to have transformed into a killing machine, constantly reaping lives. Of the dozen or so experts, only a few were left after being killed by him. Of course, he had also been struck many times. However, with the protection of the Saint Weapon Shield and the Black Feather Wings, as well as his freakish dragon god battle physique, he had not suffered any serious injuries. However, at this moment, several figures appeared in the dark night. This time, there were 20 to 30 people, all of whom were high-level martial dominators. So many experts. They really think highly of me. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. It was shocking to see such a terrifying force being sent out at once. Kill! Kill! 6 figures stepped out, unleashing terrifying auras. They were all 9th-layer martial dominators. Swish! Below him, a terrifying sword ray was launched at Lu Ming. It was another 9th-layer martial dominator. Get lost! Lu Ming bellowed as he executed the 9-dragon sky stomp. He took 9 consecutive steps and 9 dragons danced in the air, charging toward the person below. Boom! The sword ray collided with the 9 dragons, producing a terrifying explosion. Following this, the sword ray shattered the 9 dragons and continued to slash at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure moved, and he moved horizontally in one direction. However, there was still a 9th-level martial emperor in that direction. There were 9th-layer martial dominators in all directions. Kill. The black dragon spear swept out toward the 9th-layer martial dominator behind him. So what if he was a 9th-layer martial dominator? He would still kill him. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, even without a sacred weapon, he could fight against an ordinary 9th-layer martial dominator and even kill him. With a sacred weapon, he was even more fearless. Clang! The black dragon spear collided with the opponent's saber. The opponent's body shook violently, and he was sent flying. Kill. Lu Ming targeted this and continued to charge toward the other party. The black dragon spear became 1,000 meters long and pressed down on the opponent. Boom! The opponent tried his best to resist, but he could not stop it. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and was sent flying. However, Lu Ming used the wind origin skill and chased after the opponent. Let's attack together. A cold voice was heard as the other 9th-layer martial dominators charged at Lu Ming. Their terrifying attacks knocked away the sacred weapon and shield. Some of the attacks landed on the black wings, causing Lu Ming's body to shake violently. However, Lu Ming's eyes were still firm as he stared at one of the opponents and charged at him. Another spear thrust out, and that person spat out mouthfuls of blood. His arm was broken. Whoosh! In the end, Lu Ming threw the black dragon spear out. The black dragon spear pierced through the air like a black lightning bolt. It contained the terrifying power of the 13 strike and suddenly exploded, piercing through the 9th-layer martial dominator. A terrifying force vibrated, and the 9th-layer martial dominator's body exploded. Lu Ming suddenly turned around and threw a punch at one of the 9th-layer martial dominators. The flowing element gloves appeared, and he poured his true yuan into them. The flowing element gloves rapidly became heavier. Boom! This punch contained the power of the chaotic realm and the hell-suppressing skill. It was terrifyingly powerful and could destroy anything. When the fist collided with the opponent's battle sword, the Emperor's battle sword was unable to withstand the force and exploded. The terrifying fist energy bombarded the body of the cultivator of the 9th Emperor realm. He screamed in agony as his body was pierced through and exploded. In an instant, 2 9th-layer martial dominators were killed. His sacred weapon is too powerful. Some people were astounded. Even the 9th-layer martial dominators were killed. Back off and kill him with your sacred weapons. Someone in the sky said coldly. A few 9th-layer martial dominators backed off, but a few others stepped forward. Their auras were also 9th-layer martial dominators. There were too many experts. There were more than 10 9th-layer martial dominators. Furthermore, the 9th-layer martial dominators were even more terrifying as they all had sacred weapons. One of them had a blood-red pagoda floating above his head, emitting a terrifying aura. Another person held a battle blade in his hand. That battle blade was also a holy armament. The third person held an iron rod, which was also a sacred weapon. The fourth person had a mountain floating above his head, which was also a sacred weapon. The 4 9th-layer martial dominators controlled 4 sacred weapons to seal off the area. Attack! The person in the sky gave the order. Kill! Chapter 1557. The power of a 9th-layer martial dominator controlling a sacred weapon was too terrifying. Lu Ming did not dare to face the attack head-on, as he continued to dodge the saber glow. Will dispersing light. That person spat out this sentence coldly. That saber gleam actually split apart all of a sudden, biting Lu Ming's body tightly. No matter how fast Lu Ming was, he actually could not avoid that saber gleam. It's really the intentionless saber art. You guys are from the intentionless saber sect. Lu Ming let out a furious roar. He had seen the geniuses of the intentionless saber sect using the intentionless saber art at the treasure pedestal meeting. The person's eyes were cold and emitted a strong murderous intent, as the saber glow did not stop. Dang! Lu Ming blocked the attack with the sacred weapon shield and the black feather wings, but after being struck by the saber glow, his body shuddered violently and was sent flying like a cannonball. Puff. In the process of being sent flying, Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. The power of a ninth-layer martial dominator controlling a sacred weapon was too shocking. Even with the protection of the sacred weapon, Lu Ming was still injured. Bang! Above him, a strong gust of wind was blowing as a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. A pitch-black mountain was pressing down on Lu Ming. Another expert made his move, also aiming a sacred weapon at Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming channeled his true energy into the flowing force gloves as he executed the heavenly art of suppressing hell and threw a punch at the small mountain. Bang! A shocking explosion took place as the small mountain was sent flying by Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's body fell to the ground like a meteorite. Puff! Lu Ming spat out another mouthful of blood as his arm trembled slightly. Bang! An iron rod, which was thousands of meters long, swept toward Lu Ming like a pillar that could hold up the sky. Lu Ming used the black wings to protect his body. With a boom, Lu Ming was sent flying. He crashed into a huge mountain, causing it to crack. The ninth-layer Martial Dominator realm was the peak of the Martial Dominator realm, granting him a terrifying strength. Previously, Lu Ming had managed to kill the two cultivators at lightning speed with the help of his sacred weapon, but it did not mean that a ninth-layer Martial Dominator realm cultivator was weak. On top of that, there were 4 ninth-layer Martial Dominators controlling the sacred weapons. Their combined strength was even more terrifying. Lu Ming was no match for them at all. Bubbles, let's go. Lu Ming called out Bubbles. Under such circumstances, the only way out was to retreat. It was unwise to fight head-on. As for Ming Lian's second body, Lu Ming had no intention of calling him out. Given the cultivation of Ming Lian's second body and the fact that he didn't have a saint artifact to protect him, he would only be killed if he called out. Chirp, chirp. The bubble cried out and opened up a space-time tunnel. Lu Ming and Bai Yunfei rushed in. However, at the next moment, Lu Ming seemed to have knocked into a wall and his body was blocked. The space-time tunnel had lost its effect. Buzz. Inscriptions appeared in all directions. Over 10 black-robed cultivators stood in different directions. Each of them had a formation disc floating above their heads, sealing off the space. Such a meticulous plan. Lu Ming's heart turned cold. It was obvious that the enemy was serious about killing them, as they had taken all of Lu Ming's trump cards into consideration. They also knew that Lu Ming had Bubbles with him, allowing him to escape using the space-time tunnel. The enemy had already set up a space sealing formation to seal off the space. Even Bubbles would not be able to escape. It was not that Bubbles' space-time domain was not powerful enough, but that Bubbles' cultivation was too low, while the enemy's cultivation was too high. Bubbles had no chance of escaping with the help of the formation. Take down the space-time spirit mouse. The black-robed cultivator in the sky spoke once again. Buzz. 12 black-robed cultivators stepped forward with formation discs floating above their heads. They sealed off the space and surrounded Bubbles. Boom. At this moment, a huge pagoda came crashing down on Lu Ming. The attacks of the 4 experts arrived again. Flapping his black wings, Lu Ming dashed forward at lightning speed, not wanting to collide with the huge pagoda. However, what greeted him was a terrifying saber light. The 4 experts controlled their sacred weapons and attacked together, not giving Lu Ming any chance to catch his breath. There was no way to avoid it. Lu Ming threw a punch. The shadow of the prison-suppressing monument was faintly discernible. Boom! The fist collided with the saber light. Lu Ming destroyed the saber light, but his body was also sent flying. The 12 black-robed cultivators sealed off the space and surrounded Lu Ming, trying to suppress Lu Ming in the space. Fight! A fierce look flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. The third bloodline continuously poured energy into Lu Ming's body. Not enough. Not enough. More, more, more. Lu Ming roared in his heart, madly borrowing the power of the third bloodline. The power in the third bloodline seemed to be endless. As the power crazily poured in, Lu Ming's body exploded with a terrifying killing intent. Lu Ming's eyes turned blood red, and so did his hair. It was as if he was bleeding. At this moment, the huge pagoda came crashing down. Get lost. Lu Ming punched out. Dong. A terrifying sound was heard and the sky trembled. The huge pagoda was sent flying by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled, and he stepped on the void, retreating more than 10 steps. However, he still managed to block it, unlike before when he was sent flying and vomited blood. Boom! A huge iron rod swept toward Lu Ming from one side, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound. Everything in its way was about to be smashed into smithereens. Lu Ming punched out again, and it collided with the huge rod. Buzz! The huge rod kept vibrating, and it was sent flying by the terrifying power. However, Lu Ming was the same, and he was sent flying 1,000 meters, creating a passage of air waves in the sky. However, in the sky, a small mountain came crashing down on Lu Ming. The four of them joined forces, and their attacks seemed endless. Not enough, still not enough, more. Lu Ming roared, and he threw caution to the wind. The power of the third bloodline poured into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body swelled because of the terrifying power. His hair was blood red, and his eyes were like a demon from the abyss of hell. Kill! Lu Ming roared, an endless killing intent, together with the divine sword art, spread out in all directions. Although these people had already prepared for the divine sword art's defense, the endless killing intent still made them shiver and their hearts tremble. Boom! Lu Ming punched the small mountain above his head, and this time, Lu Ming's body did not move at all. Kill! Lu Ming stomped his foot, and with a swoosh, rushed out and rushed towards the person who was controlling the divine weapon. The other party's true yuan boiled, and he slashed out a terrifying saber light. Lu Ming's punch directly shattered the saber light, and he rushed towards the other party at an extreme speed. The terrifying killing intent shrouded the other party, and his face turned pale. Splitting light with a thought, saber breaking the firmament. The divine sword vibrated, and in an instant, it slashed out hundreds of times. However, the hundreds of saber lights eventually condensed into 9. The 9 saber lights connected head to tail, and they continuously slashed towards Lu Ming. The terrifying saber intent constantly cut Lu Ming's body. However, it was blocked by a layer of terrifying energy on Lu Ming's body. Bam! Bam! Chapter 1558. Kill. The iron fist punched out, causing the void to tremble violently. The other party's expression changed drastically as he used the sage saber to block. Clang. The other party was sent flying and crashed into a mountain peak, vomiting blood. Lu Ming stepped forward, wanting to rush up and kill this person. Die. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the sky. A black light flashed, and an invisible force bombarded Lu Ming's spiritual deity. The defensive armor on the spiritual deity shone and blocked the attack, but it kept trembling. A soul attack. Lu Ming's heart trembled. At this moment, buzz, buzz, buzz. Around him, at least a dozen people attacked at the same time, using soul attack techniques to attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spirit deity was shaken. These people were all high-level martial emperors, and one of the soul attacks belonged to the person who gave the order. It was terrifyingly powerful. If not for Lu Ming's powerful soul and the spiritual deity's defensive treasure, his soul would have been destroyed. This is the divine sword art. You are from the evil spirit sect. Lu Ming roared. He finally knew who the other party was. The evil spirit sect. They were definitely from the evil spirit sect. They were not from the heavenly divinity sect, the heavenly universe demon sect, or the poison desire sect, but from the evil spirit sect. The evil spirit sect had targeted him. More than a dozen experts attacked Lu Ming with soul attacks. At this moment, the attacks from the pagoda, the small mountain, and the giant rod also arrived. Roar! Lu Ming roared like a wild beast. More energy surged into his third bloodline, filling Lu Ming's heart with endless killing intent. His mind was almost drowned by the endless killing intent. Boom! He sent the giant iron rod flying with a punch. Then, his black wings flapped crazily and bombarded the small mountain and the pagoda, sending them flying. Then, he took a step forward and charged toward the expert who was controlling the saber. Let's go. The expert was shocked and wanted to escape, but his body stiffened when Lu Ming's terrifying killing intent enveloped him. Lu Ming flew over. His black wings were like blades as he killed this person. Lu Ming grabbed the saint artifact, and with a flap of his black wings, he charged towards the expert controlling the small mountain. From all directions, soul attacks continuously rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming forcefully withstood the soul attacks and charged forward. Clang! The holy saber slashed down at the other party, who used a small mountain to block, but the small mountain was sent flying. The other party's face was pale as he quickly retreated. On the other side, the huge pagoda charged towards Lu Ming, wanting to rescue the cultivator controlling the small mountain. Whoosh! Lu Ming threw out the holy blade in his hand to block the pagoda. Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he continued to attack his opponent. With a punch, the other party was unable to recall Xiao Shan in time and could only block it with his own strength. However, in Lu Ming's current state, his strength was astonishing. The opponent's spirit weapon was directly torn apart by Lu Ming's punch. The terrifying fist force killed the opponent in the air. Retreat! Retreat! The other two were shocked. They did not dare to get close to Lu Ming and frantically retreated. Lu Ming's current state was too terrifying. He was completely like a legendary bloodthirsty demon, extremely terrifying. I'll do it. At this moment, the black-robed man who had given the order in the sky moved. He took a step forward and unsheathed his sword. A beam of sword light instantly crossed the void and slashed towards Lu Ming. It was fast, extremely fast. Moreover, the terrifying pressure made even Lu Ming almost drown in the endless killing intent. He was shocked. The sword light reached Lu Ming's throat in an instant. It was going to cut off Lu Ming's head. This was a half-saint with 1 foot in the saint realm. It seemed that there was only one level difference between a half-saint and a 9th-level martial royal realm, but the combat strength of a half-saint was much stronger than that of a 9th-level martial royal realm. It was easy for a half-saint to kill a 9th-level martial royal realm person. Roar! At this moment, Lu Ming let out a loud roar. At the critical moment, he moved to the side. Puff! In the end, Lu Ming's chest was still swept by the sword light. The genuine vitality, the chaotic field, and the dragon scales on his skin were directly cut open, revealing a deep sword wound. Even his bones were broken and blood flowed out. At the same time, the terrifying sword chi kept drilling into Lu Ming's body, trying to destroy Lu Ming's physical body. There was no doubt that the weapon used by the black-robed man was also a holy weapon. Otherwise, it would not have such terrifying power. Whoosh! The black-robed man did not kill Lu Ming. The black-robed man's sword light turned again and slashed towards Lu Ming's waist. The black-robed man flapped his wings and swept towards Lu Ming. Clang! The sword light cut the black-robed man's wings. The black-robed man's wings vibrated violently. A terrifying force bombarded Lu Ming. Lu Ming flew backwards and smashed into a mountain, breaking it apart. There was a loud explosion. The next moment, Lu Ming's body flew out from the rubble. A 5th-level martial royal realm person has such strong vitality. No wonder the elder asked us to send so many people. This person must be killed as soon as possible. Lu Ming's tenacity made the black-robed half-saint feel a little dignified. He stepped out and turned into a beam of sword light, attacking Lu Ming. The terrifying sword power made Lu Ming's hair stand on end and his muscles tense, even though he was far away. It's the power of the Dharma. Lu Ming let out a low growl. The black-robed man was obviously a half-saint who had mastered the Dharma. He was extremely powerful. There were strong and weak half-saints. A half-saint who had mastered the power of the Dharma was absolutely terrifying. The sword light approached Lu Ming in an instant. Chirp, 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 chirp. A transparent bubble suddenly appeared above the black-robed half-saint and enveloped him. However, the black-robed man's body was almost unaffected. The sword light burst out and directly broke the transparent bubble. Space-time spiritual mouse, controlling time and space. It's really mysterious. Unfortunately, it's too weak. The black-robed half-saint said in a hoarse voice. 2 black beams of light shot out from his eyes and pierced Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two black beams of light also shot out from Lu Ming's eyes. They used the holy sword skill at the same time. After the black beams of light collided, the black-robed half-saint directly defeated Lu Ming's. The sword light did not stop and continued to attack Lu Ming. The black-robed man was a half-saint who also practiced the holy sword skill. His soul power was stronger than that of an ordinary half-saint. Even though Lu Ming's soul power was dozens of times stronger than that of a martial artist at the same level, he was still weaker than the black-robed man. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The black-robed man swung his sword and shattered the chirp. Chirp, 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 chirp. Break. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.